For years, I felt like I was on an emotional roller coaster. My mood was constantly up and down, and I couldn't understand why. I've heard of bipolar before, and I even remember seeing it portrayed in movies and TV shows, like on 90210. And the way it was shown was often so exaggerated and comical that I never really connected with it. It never really felt like my experience. I never really thought that could be what was wrong with me. In 2021, things came to a head. I had a full blown manic episode that led to me being hospitalized after some traumatic experiences. I was sectioned and I ended up staying in the hospital for a whole month. Honestly, the whole experience was incredibly difficult. One of the hardest things about mental health care, I think, is the feeling of powerlessness. That they can just take you and confine you. I understand why it happens, and I definitely needed supervision at the time. But the hospitals themselves, in my experience, they're very often not a great place. There's a really lack of resources, and some of the staff, while they try their best, aren't always adequately trained. I even worked as a support worker during my masters, and some of my colleagues didn't even believe mental health was real. So you can imagine it's not the most supportive environment when you're in feeling very vulnerable. When I was discharged, I crashed into a really severe depression, and that's been a pattern. I've been hospitalized a few times since 2021. I tend to get sectioned when I'm experiencing extreme mania, delusion, and psychosis, times when I'm really not in touch with reality, and my perception of things is really off. It can be dangerous. I remember one time during my last manic episode, I almost ran into the road, and my sisters had to physically restrain me, and someone called the police, and I ended up being taken to the hospital by the police. But even with all of this that I'm saying, I would say I am so grateful for my diagnosis. Finally, I have a name for what I've been experiencing. Finally, I understand what was going on, and I'm enormously relieved. Before I was just completely confused, seeing that other people didn't experience the world the way I did, and wondering what's wrong with me. What's wrong with me? Why am I not Why am I experiencing this? And since my diagnosis, I've encountered all sorts of people in the mental health system, and I've met some who weren't so great, but I've also met some truly, truly fantastic people. I had a clinical nurse for 3 years who was absolutely amazing. She would visit me regularly, drive me to the appointments when I couldn't get out of the house, and was just incredibly supportive and encouraging. My psychiatrist at the time wasn't the best, so having a nurse who actually listened and advocated for me made a huge difference. And I'm so grateful for the NHS, even with its flaws and the scary experiences I've had within it, and hearing about other people's stories as well. I've realized how fortunate I am. I also did a 3 months bipolar course recently, and it was incredible to connect with other people who truly get it. I've never really met anyone else with bipolar before, and it was so validating. We could understand each other in a way that it's hard to explain. The course also gave so many tools, coping mechanism, a better understanding of myself, and just a ton of information about almost every session. I had these aha moments, realizing things I do or things I've experienced that I never really clocked before. It's like, oh, that's why that happened. Wow. One of the things we talked about in the course was triggers, and how even things like intense exercise can set off an episode, and that really resonated with me. I remember being on holiday with my sisters in 2021, and I was already in a mixed episode, kind of teetering between hypomania and depression, which is just the worst place to be. It's different from being purely manic or purely depressed. It's just an awful combination of the two. Anyway, we went to Blackpool, and I rode the massive roller coaster, the biggest one in England apparently. Afterwards, I was just buzzing. My whole body was on edge, and the next day I was just like, my manic episode just continues to go up. I wasn't sleeping or eating. I was having grandiose ideas, like feeling on top of the world, buying gifts for everyone, buying lots of chocolate, lots of all this food, and not eating it. It was it was really eye opening to be able to connect the dots. I just want to say that a diagnosis, even of something as significant as bipolar disorder, isn't the end of the world. It's a starting point, and it's a chance to understand yourself better, to get the right support, and to learn to live a full and meaningful life for yourself. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I'm gonna be making more videos in the future about the strategies that I've had in place, coping mechanisms that I've been using over the past 2 years. That I haven't had a manic episode in about 2 years now, and I'm working towards sustaining that. And I've learned so much, and I would love to talk more about tools that I've used, and especially like I've gone through points in my life where high stress points where normally would have got me set straight to depression, and I've managed to stay on the even keel. So that that's been such a big accomplishment for me. I've been unemployed for the past 8 months or so, and I was so terrified that I was gonna, because bipolar doesn't do so well with big changes and uncertainties and stuff like that. So it's been really, I'm so proud of myself that I've managed to keep it all together and stay on top of everything. I didn't actually introduce myself at the beginning of the video, did I? And my name is Ajoke, and I would love to talk about my story on this YouTube channel and just talk about things that I'm interested in. YouTube has always been a dream of mine, but I've never been able to make it work because I'm just a perfectionist and just I have ADHD on top of everything. So it's always an impossible task, but I'm hoping to turn a new leaf, and I really want to hear from other people with similar experiences or different experiences. I just want to learn from people and build a community of you know um, curious people. They're just interested in like learning and from each other, because I think that's one of the most beautiful strengths that humans have, that we can learn from each other, we can empathize with each other, we can connect with each other. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to me, and if you have any question, you can, or if you want to share your stories and experiences as well, you can leave that in the comments, and I will make sure to reply to every single one, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.